Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. I am so thrilled to be here for our Thursday Spark Seat conversation with the one and only Tepsii and Coco, both one and only because, it's just a really special moment to have this opportunity to talk with both of you and to have Tepsii back. We were just saying this is like, twice in 2 weeks. This is something I could get used to.
Yes, for me too.
That's right. And this is the power of this community is that last week in the Courageous Leadership Challenge, Coco was commenting and really engaged in a lot of the different Spark interviews. And she said, hey, we should talk about breaking out of our shell. And Tepsii and I said, yeah, we should. And she said, when are we going to do it? And then here we are. I said, well, let's do it in the Spark Seat, right? Because that's how we roll here. It really is a space for community members to ask for what you want and engage in conversation and intentional dialogue about what it means to really elevate others and to show courageous leadership right now. So I thank you, Coco, for asking for what you wanted and speaking up. And Tepsii, thank you so much for coming back. This is such a gift.
It is. Thank you for having me and for hosting these conversations. It's a time in the world where it's hard to have conversations. It's hard to approach one another. And it really means a lot to be having this space, to do that.
Thank you. So to kick us off, I want to read a poem. Did you want to say anything, Coco? I'm sorry.
I was just agreeing with her. Absolutely. It's just wonderful to be able to be in this environment, in this space, and just know that we are able to be heard and hear each other and celebrate each other. And just, again, like she said, thank you for having the space available. And it's wonderful because we get to meet new people. I'm so excited to meet you, Tepsii.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. So I'll just say on a logistical front, if you're watching live, definitely engage, lean in, comment, ask questions, make connections. If you're watching the replay, write team replay, let us know what this sparks for you and ask for what you want too. What does this make you kind of want more of or want to engage more about, right? And so I want to offer an excerpt from this book called Perseverance. Let's see if I can get it over there. Perseverance by Margaret Wheatley. And it's called Never Too Late. Bravery is a choice. It's a decision to enter into the fray, no matter how illogical or crazy things are, even as our friends, family, and common sense recommend that we stay away. In our life, we are surrounded by people, events, circumstances that offer continuous proof of how bad things are, including bad people who don't seem worth struggling for. We did not plan to live in such a crazed world. Very few of us have been prepared for life circumstances to deal with the levels of fear, aggression, and insanity we now encounter daily. When we're being trained to think, to plan, to lead, the world was portrayed as rational, predictable, and logical. But now, ever-present insanity, illogic, injustice, illusion. This is just the way it is and will continue to be. We can't restore sanity to the world, but we can remain sane and available. We can aspire to be of service wherever summons us. We can focus our energy on working for good people and good causes. It's never too late to be brave. And so with that, the theme of today, I see both of you as such brave leaders. I see both of you as people who have stepped out and up in ways that are in circumstances and ways that are unimaginable to some, right? And that's why your stories are so powerful for all of us to hear. And so as you think about, as I offered in my Facebook post a little earlier, to me, what I've learned is that in order to really break free, I've had to go through phases. It starts with a breakdown, and then I have to break open and feel raw and vulnerable. And then I break through to this small other side. Sometimes it's one choice, one move, one community in order to really feel liberated and feel like I can actually shed a layer of the past so I can be my best self, right? So I'd love to hear from each of you, what that means to you to kind of shed a layer from your past in service of being a courageous leader. And if you want to each share a story about a time when you did that, it would be great to hear a little slice of your story as well.
Okay, so who goes first?
Rock, paper, scissors. I'm just kidding.
You can go first.
Go.
I'm a repeat here.
Thank you. Okay. What I'm thinking about is a time when I first acknowledged groupthink. And I didn't know it was called or had a title of groupthink at the time, but my peers, my friends, certain family members, we were all collectively impoverished. And I didn't spend all my time talking about my baby's daddy or, the latest True Religion jeans that I'm going to try and find or whatever with my money. I was always talking about ideas and goal mapping, which I didn't call it goal mapping back then either. And my friends and different family members would often say to me, Coco, you are so weird. And I would be like, why? And some of them would even say, girl, you don't even act like a black girl. We don't even know what's going on with you. And I would say, why would you say that? And I said, listen how you said, why would you say that? Listen how you talk. Listen how you act. And it was very difficult for me to fit in. And I wanted to fit in so bad with them because that was my inclusion space. What happened for me was that finally our groupthink wasn't getting any of us anywhere, including myself. And I knew I had to find new horizons. I had to go out and find new people with new ways of thinking. And so that's what I started doing. And the interesting thing about that is when I would go to middle class areas with people in those arenas, I was strange there too, because I was talking from a perspective of being impoverished. So in my impoverished community, I was strange because I didn't think about gangbanging or I didn't think about the typical things that were thought of for females in the hood. And when I would go to middle class arenas, I was odd because I didn't understand the verbiage, the language, the words that they would use. And my perspective often was something that they were not familiar with. I would hear some of them say, well, I've never been in your circumstance. I can only imagine. So being in the middle of both of those segues, I had to really begin to just take a hard look at who I was as an individual and not label myself from my community or any other communities that I wanted to get involved in. I had to really shed stigmas. I had to shed insecurity. I had to be vulnerable. And I had to ask for inclusion and help. And that was when I started having breakthrough moments that led me to just going to people at community colleges, even going up to Senator Maria Cantwell's office and saying, my name is Cosette. I really believe I deserve to be in here. Just a change of thought. And the interesting thing about that is even when I did that, I still found myself reinventing myself, trying to fit in where I was at now. I didn't want to lose the space that I was at now. Oh my goodness, I finally got over here. I want to be just like all of them. That wasn't true to myself. I became very uncomfortable in that because I was acting like other people, copycatting them and their behaviors. And that wasn't true to who I was authentically as a person. It wasn't true to the environment that I had grew up in and who I was. And so all of a sudden, after all of that, I still found myself having to choose me, just choosing me. And the wonderful thing is when I did that, all of a sudden, I began to respect who I was, my story, what I was about, and other people began to respect me. So that was a real time of shedding that insecurity, that hood insecurity, if you will, coming from the hood and everything, and standing in my own light, in my own purpose.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Any reactions, Tepsii, or connection?
Yeah. She said a lot of things. We always think that our story is really unique. I don't come from where Cosette comes from. I don't have that same experience. However, I have lived the experience of being the other being the only one who was like me, looking to fit in, looking for understanding. I grew up in a majority white, homogenous environment in Vermont, of all places. And I went to college in Vermont. And so when, I'm in Vermont, I mean, that's my home. That's my hometown is, around Burlington and Essex, Vermont. But I don't 100% fit in there. I don't 100% understand. I never understood these people wanting to go outside in the snow and put sticks on their feet and go down mountains. I was like, what are you doing? And I didn't understand eating maple syrup. Like, why are we eating sap from trees? Like, when I first got there, it was all a lot of stuff to get used to, and the taste of these things as well to get used to. And so I didn't really have the vernacular to
Oh, frozen.
My phone rang. Can you hear me?
You're back. It froze for a second. Okay, good. I was like, where'd she go?
Okay. Yeah, I forgot to put it on do not disturb, and the phone rang. So sorry about that. So yeah, I was saying I didn't have the language. I didn't fit in. I didn't understand the culture. I also grew up with African parents. So, they would say, when you walk in this house, you're in Africa. Like, you're in South Africa. When you walk in this house, you're no longer in Vermont. Don't you think you're one of those American kids? But here I am at school trying so hard to be one of the American kids, because otherwise you're ostracized, you're weird, whatever. And so that is one arena of my life. And then, being a South African born person, but not being raised here, I also don't totally fit in here either. So it's funny how, we often can have these experiences and have different words to describe, where you grew up and how you grew up, but it's such a parallel kind of existence that we've led on the path to being more of ourselves, truer to ourselves, finding our purpose, taking responsibilities. And with, now I live in South Africa, and I'm trying to start to understand this culture. And it's funny because I really don't, jokes and things, I'll have to ask people like, can you explain that to me? Why is that funny? Or how is that funny? And it used to be embarrassing for me. And then one day I realized, you know what, this is who I am. I can't apologize for it. Like, I don't know. And so the only way I'm going to find out is if I ask. And there's no problem with asking. It's not embarrassing to ask for what you need. If what you need is a translation, or what you need is a little bit of context to fit in, that is totally okay, which I didn't know when I was younger. So I love what Cosette talked about.
Yes. Yeah. I think, thank you for sharing those connections. And we've got Kenny and Molly in the house. Kenny says finding purpose is major, knowing why it's important to step out of the box. I think sometimes it's unconscious. Like, we find ourselves in these circumstances where we're just rolling, and it's the air that we're breathing, and we don't even know that we've conformed to some type of society that is not serving us, right? Until sometimes our bodies tell us enough is enough. Like, you have to get out of this situation, or like you feel so constrained, or so, to me, it felt like suffocating. Like, I just couldn't be free. I couldn't be me. So I'm wondering, Tepsii, if you had a moment for you when you, just had to break down and break open so you could break through and break free yourself. In addition to those stories are awesome. And I feel like there may be a specific example that connects to something more. I just have a feeling.
Yeah, I think that the last time I was here, we talked a lot about, I shared my life story, and being born in South Africa, being born in apartheid, moving to the US, moving back, getting married, then getting divorced, having a baby, and then going back to college. And it's just like all these transitions, every single time I've had to find that resiliency and find my sense of self and sense of purpose. Most recently, I would say the workplaces where I was employed before I started my business and went full time in self-employment, I really struggled because I did not think like the people at work were thinking. I was not concerned with which cubicle I was assigned or, talking at the water cooler or any of that stuff. And so I kept to myself in terms of, that. And people thought I was so weird. Why aren't you trying to come to lunch with us? Why aren't you trying to, um, you know, hang out with us? And it wasn't that I didn't like them and that I didn't want to, but at lunchtime I was thinking about how can I grow my business. I was like mapping out my strategic plan and figuring out my ideal client and, on the path to creating a sense of freedom for myself. And I'm not saying that my path is better than their path, just two different paths. And when you realize and you recognize that you're so different, it can be really hard. And there's a lot of pressure to really conform. And then when my business started doing well enough for me to think about leaving, that took a lot of courage, because that goes against everything we're ever told about, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get good grades, graduate, maybe get a higher education, master's or a PhD if that's your path. Or if not, go get a mortgage, go get yourself, a minivan or whatever, so you can throw your kids in there and just grow old in that house, right? So it took a lot of courage. At first, I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody. It wasn't because they had like given me any clues that I couldn't tell them. I felt like I couldn't tell them. And so I carried the weight of doing pretty well and having a success in business, but hiding out and being shameful about it because it wasn't what everybody else was doing. And eventually I remember the day I told my dad, like, hey Dad, I quit my job. And I'm scared out of my mind. I'm shaking. I quit my job. We're selling our house and we're moving to South Africa. And he was just like, I said, I don't know what you're going to think. I'm scared. And he's like, why would you think I would not be excited for you? Why would you think I wouldn't be happy for you? You're following your dreams. You're doing something that I always wished I could do. But for some reason, I created a whole reality in my head based on what other people around me had reacted, how they had reacted at work and everything. And so I was holding the secret in my personal life. And the moment my dad kind of gave me that permission, he's like, told me he's proud. I was then like, well, I guess I can tell everybody else. And until that day, I had been moonlighting under a different name and all types of things to hide out. And it was such a relief to come out as myself.
Yes. Kenny says, courageous feet pack the hardest kickdowns to the door of success. Love that, Kenny. I'm feeling your connections. Yes. Breakdowns, foundations for breakthroughs, comeback season. That's right. Any connections, Coco, or reactions real quick as we keep the conversation flowing?
One of the things I love is at the very tip of the end, what you said, coming out of yourself. Coming out of yourself, that is like, because I've heard people use the term, coming out of a closet and things like that. And you say coming out of yourself. I love that. And yes, as you were talking, my mind was thinking, because like Rachel, you said, what was the moment that broke your heart open?
Yeah.
For me, it was the fact that I was doing something. I had a bravery that I did not have a model for. I was a single mom on welfare telling this world that I had a purpose, that I had value, and that I had hopes and dreams. This was something that social services department, housing authorities, and all the different people that I dealt with, my powers that be, were like, what, a shot ring out in the dark? What are you talking about? No one was prepared for me to think out loud. No one was prepared for me to have passion. No one was prepared to join me, really, to co-sign. So what I was getting back was, do you not see where you're standing yourself? Are you not receiving food stamps? Are you not receiving a welfare check? Are you not impoverished? I had people ask me, how are you, a woman in poverty yourself, going to advocate and be a Pied Piper and lead other impoverished people out? They ask me questions like, do you have a degree? No. Do you have sponsorship? No. Are you with any particular agency or organization? No. Well, don't you see there's a liability here? And I had not heard the word liability before I had an interesting conversation with the director of a nonprofit group that I was in their courses to get a community job. And he was like, I don't think you're equipped, you're ready to do this. And I don't think that we can partner with you, because what if one of our clients takes some of your suggestions and it doesn't pan out? Then who's liable? Because we allowed you, hence the word allow you. Okay, as if I needed permission. Thank you, Kenny. As if I needed their permission to live out loud. We allowed you to tell them these suggestions and ideas. So for me, my heart was broke wide open with the reality that I was going to have to literally fiercely stand my ground. I was going to have to be a woman from the other side of the tracks, showing up, being in my own personal vision, and they were going to have to catch on later. I'm sorry, I'll see y'all at the door. Catch on later, because of the fact that I knew that I had the original map inside of me, and that was living through their policies, procedures, and pilot programs, and it wasn't getting me and my kids nowhere. So I made up my mind that if I didn't like the type of things that me and my children were living through, there must be a whole bunch of more people out there like me, multiply that by however many. So then I had a responsibility. I needed to go out into this big old world, okay, and be like, hey, I can give a god dang what y'all think. This girl about to get it. So you know what I did? I started going to school at night. I enlisted my oldest daughter. I did them cooking meals for a week. Them food stamp meals, let me tell you, for a week. Putting stuff in the freezer. Went out to Walmart, got a little cheap $49 microwave. I said, kids, y'all gonna put this stuff in the microwave. Mama gonna be at school at night. Y'all gonna start growing up a little faster. We gonna start leaning on each other a little harder. And let me tell you stuff that my kids started leading in my example. My oldest daughter, 14, started looking for a job, got a job at Steak Burger. She said, Mama, I'm going to help put in and get in where we fit in. I was like, we fitting in. We fitting in. And I was like, well, you ain't going to tell me and my kids that we don't have a right to live out loud.
That's right.
So my heart got broken wide open by people's doubt. And I had to learn for myself that I cannot co-sign their doubt by doubting myself as well.
Damn.
Drop the mic.
There is so much truth and so much like light, you know, in your story, and it resonates so deeply with me. I always tell my clients and students that, much like you, I ended up being a single mom. And I remember somebody telling me I was just a statistic, you know, you're just going to become single Black female, whatever, with kid. And I was like, oh, really? That's what you think I'm going to do? And just like you, when you talk about, you know, that resiliency and that strength that you tapped into, and you were like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do it together, you know, enlisting your kids, getting their help, getting them to see what the vision is, because that is the only way that they're going to actually lift themselves up, by seeing what you are doing, you know, having that example to live with and live by. And so it's women like you that I think are the fabric of our communities, and what really make things possible for so many other people. And just hearing your story totally lights me up, because, you know, we are so similar and yet so different, but so similar. And no matter who you are, where you're from, I think a person can hear your story and find inspiration, find hope, and say, you know what, if she could do that, if she could go back to school, if she could tell all the people who told her no that it was going to be a big fat yes, if she could rewrite her entire future, then who am I to be sitting here telling myself that I cannot, telling myself that I don't have, you know, any any sort of resources, and that my circumstances are less than, and so that makes me less than. I cannot hear your story and think to myself, oh well, I'm going to resign myself to whatever future comes to me. I hear your story and think, how can I rewrite the rest of what I'm here to live, and my journey that I'm here for. So thank you for sharing. You cracked us wide open and got us excited and inspired. So and it just reminds me of how far I've also come as a woman and as a mom and all those things. So thank you.
I knew this was going to be powerful.
Thank both of you. No, thank both of you. I mean, you said that they're talking about me. You remember the first time you were on with Rachel, girl, you had me blowing up messages like crazy. You were talking about, becoming a single mom and stuff. I was like, oh, wait a minute, another single mom in the house. Hold on. I was like, yes, I'm feeling you. And that's the incredible thing about this, is that when we do tell our stories, like you said, it resonates with someone. We don't know who that someone is going to be. Right. I had a friend of mine ask me the other day, she goes, do you ever worry that someone's not going to like your book? I smiled, because she just wrote a book. And I said, babe, let me tell you something. I felt my inner Bernie Mac. Let me tell you something. I said, I don't spend my time worried about who's not going to like the book, because the book is written for the people that it is written for. I said, your book is written for the audience that it is written for. I said, if you spend your time and your energy concentrating on that factor, you will have a greater impact. And listening to you talk today and thinking about when I first heard you talk, girl, I was all over you. I even believe I said, I want to know you. I was like, I'm not going to waste no time. I'm not going to try to be cute. I'm not going to try to be savvy. I'm not going to be trying to be all professional and everything. I'm like, yeah, girl, I want to know you. Look, I'm just going to do it right now. I want to know you. I ain't trying to be, whatever. Yeah, I hold a degree and everything, but right now I want to know you. What's your name?
Right. And so here's why I love everything that's happening right now. These sparks, the authentic connection is what Spark is all about. It's not about pretending like we have it all together. It's not about pretending as though we're some, everything's polished. That's not humanity. That's not life, right? And when we give ourselves permission to be who we really are, to ask the question that we're genuinely curious about, whether it sounds right and all the grammar is perfect, we're in this space and we get to be, this is the space to actually lean in and to be as our authentic, brave selves, asking the questions that we feel in our heart. And that's why I love this connection right here, because there will always be haters. There will always be people trying to tell us ooh, you spelled that wrong, or oh, you didn't do that right. And oh, you shouldn't do this. They'll put the shame, they'll put the guilt, they'll put the shoulds all over us. And we have to decide in our hearts, when it comes to our core values and what we stand for, when we can walk toward what we know is necessary for our growth, then there's no question, right? And I think what both of you display is this, and everything about what's happening here is it's contagious, right? When someone's courageous, it's contagious. We lean in. It's magnetic, because we want. I think everybody craves the type of authentic connection that we're experiencing right now, right? But society doesn't put us in positions enough to have these types of conversations. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I think it's a gift to everybody who gets to watch.
Thank you so much for having us. And one last thing I want to add is that Cosette said, she said, she doesn't worry about who's going to like her book and who's, whatever. She's putting it out there for the people who need it, right? And so, whoever is listening, you have a gift. You have a story inside you. You have a book. You have a program. You have a course. You have something. You have art, music, something inside you that is just beating down the wall, trying to get out and reach the people who need it, right? And a lot of us will hold ourselves back with that fear of what will they say? What if they don't like me? And, I've struggled with that myself, that whole concept of people not liking me and it impacting my desire and my ability to be visible. And, it just brings me back to the phrase of like, mind your business. Your business is to stay on your path. Your business is to
That's
worry
right.
about yourself. Your business is to share your gifts and your purpose. And,
Yes.
anything else in the fray is actually not your business.
That's
Anything that
right.
is attempting to pull you away from your core purpose and beliefs is not your business. And so we have to remember that for ourselves, and we have to remind each other as, people who identify as women, and those who are feeling close to women, that, we are here to fulfill our mission, our purpose, to be in service in the way that we desire and the way that feels good to us, and just keep it moving. Like, put your
Yeah.
blinders on, like a horse. They put blinders on horses for a reason, so that the horse knows, don't go this way, don't go that way, just keep going this way. And even
Right.
if your path is a little bit, windy or whatever to get to your destination, just keep your eye on the prize. And that prize can change from day to day. We never know what it's going to look like. We never know when our dreams are going to shift and change. We don't know when we are going to shift and change. But no
Yeah.
matter what, just stay on purpose, which is, I think, being
Yes.
on purpose means to move from love and to stay in love, right? And to
Yes.
create from love. And
Yes.
so, yeah, that's my addition here.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for that. It's so
Very.
important for us to hear. And I think the connection to staying on purpose, in your purpose, and you can still stay in your lane and be focused on your goals, your vision, your mission. And you can have sisters locked arms with you who are doing the same thing. You can have brothers and family and people. You don't need a whole 100 people. You just need a handful of people who got your back every step of the way, who are cheering for you, who are saying, I see you and I believe in you and I trust, like your father said to you, like, I see, I admire your strength and your bravery. Like, those are the people we need in our corners and locked arms with us, because it will get hard. It's inevitable. Like, fear has a way of impacting our whole being, and from our emotions to our body. Like, it's not pain free, this process, but it is worth it in the end. Like, on the other side of the breakthrough is the most powerful feeling of liberation and connection and alignment, right, with what you're really supposed to do. And I just had to say that because I think, if I could go back 4 years ago when I first told someone that I thought I was in love with Leah, they said, there were a couple people, I won't name them, but they said that it's just a phase. A lot of women go through this, and you're not bisexual. Like, people put all sorts of stuff on my identity because I hadn't been with a woman yet. And I will never forget this feeling of who are you to tell me who I can love? I'm sorry. And so that first moment, I was up against this kind of experience of resistance. And so then I got back in my shell and I thought, it's not safe for me to tell people yet. Maybe I need to stay quiet. And then I got uncomfortable staying quiet, and I stepped out of my shell a couple months later. Hey, I really think I'm in love. I don't know. That's kind of a fit. Next person said that's interesting. I don't know if that's really your life, so people are always going to try to, even if they love you, they're going to try to have you stay with your old self. They want you to keep your old shell on, but animals, you think about butterflies, snakes, all animals have to shed layers. Even dogs, they shed their layers from the past, right? And yet humans,
even we shed. Our skin is constantly regenerating.
Exactly. And so why are we surprised when people change, learn, and grow? That should be normalized, And for me, it just happened to be my relationship status that was pretty extreme for a lot of people in my community. But 4 years later, I'm like, hey, I'm still in love, y'all. Thank you very much, And I think there's finally, it took this much time for people to be like, oh, that's really cute. You seem so happy. I'm like, yeah, see?
One thing I have to say based on what you're saying is, you said we should stick close to the people who are rooting for us, the people who are going to encourage us. Sometimes you're not going to have anybody. Sometimes Nobody is going to say, yes, girl. Nobody is going to encourage you. Nobody is going to help you. Nobody is going to invest. Nobody is going to do anything. And a lot of the time, we have to make the first move. I always believe that like the universe wants us to make the first move before, a path can be created for us. And so if you're out there going like, but it's not fair, she has support and I don't. We haven't always had that support. Like you're illustrating, there were times where you're doing something that's so far outside of the norm for your family group or your community or your workplace or your church or whatever, that it now you become ostracized. And, in all fairness to the people who keep us locked in the boxes, they don't know any different and they want to protect us. They want to keep us all in a box because that's what they know. And, you doing something different actually threatens their existence, not because they're haters, not because they don't like you, not because they don't love you. It's often coming from a place of misplaced love. Yes. Right. And, keeping you the same or keeping you small makes their existence kind of have purpose. Not to say that their existence is small, but, they feel it's parallel. When you're ready to break through, they want you to stay on their same path. So, find that love inside yourself. Be able to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I believe in you. I honor you. I cherish you. And I believe that you can do whatever the hell you want to do, no matter what. Just putting one foot in front of the other every single day. So I think that's really important, that resiliency inside ourselves while we're seeking out like minds and while we're finding the people to support us. Because, we've all found it now at this point, but it takes time.
I'd like to jump in on this, and I really appreciate what you're saying. The thought that keeps running through my mind, well, there's two thoughts. A lot of times when people are reacting in the ways that we're describing right now, one reason that I see as a pattern is because they often start to see the reflection within themselves and question why they are not moving forward with their lives. They see you moving forward, and all of a sudden it kind of almost, puts them on X marks the spot. Why aren't I doing more? Why aren't I doing more? And then the other thing that I really want to talk about is, yes, we do all have now our support systems and our team members and our go-to people. In that, something that really helped me along the way is what I coined borrowed confidence. Because I didn't always exude the confidence that I have now. And fortunately, I did have enough discernment to gravitate towards people that shared my vision and found value in me. And I was able to borrow their confidence in me until I continued to grow in my own. And with that being a true statement for me, I really want to acknowledge the fact that it is so important for us to have that sense of gratitude and come from a space of gratitude that we are really ready and willing to loan confidence to someone else, that they're really going to be needing it. We're going to hold that space. And that's what Rachel does. That's what you do. That's what I do. We really hold that confidence and we loan it out. And the most important, incredible feeling is when someone can come back to us and say, thank you so much for giving me this confidence. Now I want to give it back to you because I'm strong enough in my own right. And so I just find that to be a very important role, is to really stand, like you said, side by side and holding each other's hands, sisters and brothers. And I also just want to say, Kenny, I see you. Teo, I see you. Y'all is the shiznit. Okay, I see you. Okay, I see you. Yes. So just that importance of community. And Rachel, you know how big I've been on community lately. And that is community. What we're doing right now is community. I mean, look, Tepsii is in South Africa. I didn't even know the girl till she got on the show with you, okay? I didn't know the girl, okay? And she's still in South Africa. You know you can FedEx me some of that good South African food. No, I'm just saying. You FedEx. I ain't gonna leave the show without talking about that FedEx that food, okay? But, This is community. This is bringing worlds that were once worlds apart to worlds together. Having Kenny here, Teo, I didn't even know you people. Now I
just
do.
a month ago. Isn't that beautiful?
Right? Just a month ago, I didn't even know you was walking on this planet.
Really?
Amazing.
Wow. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I knew of Rachel for years now. I've been like watching her, but I didn't know that these new relationships being cultivated here. It's a really beautiful thing. It's something to admire. I love the way that you curate community, Rachel. You're really good at that. And you do it with such ease and flow and fun, which is most important to me. Because without the fun, without telling jokes, without making an atmosphere where we can be ourselves, nobody's going to want to take part in that kind of space, right? We want to take part in a space where we are seen and heard as we are ourselves.
Yes. And I appreciate both of those comments so deeply because Tepsii, you brought up something that is so important to me, and it's an underlying assumption that I have in this group that I first heard about it from Brene Brown, but I think intuitively it's been in my bones forever. She says people are doing the best that they can with the tools that they have, and that is something that I deeply believe. And so I thank you for lifting up the fact that I probably said haters earlier, but though if it feels like hate, it's because there's pain that they've internalized. Like I really try to show up with as much forgiveness and grace as I possibly can because, now I live in Texas. I was living in the Bay Area for almost 12 years. People are in a lot of pain, regardless of the zip code. Like we've all experienced pain and we're all somebody's child. We all have internalized some grief that our parents unintentionally put on us. And if we could just operate with that assumption, imagine what would be possible, in the world. And so that's just something I wanted to lift up because literally every person who defriended me when I came out, every person who brought some resistance toward me, I have nothing but forgiveness and compassion for where they're at right now. And because hate doesn't serve me at all and not with the mission that I have in life. And so I just wanted to make that kind of lift it up. Sometimes it's tacit and assume that people know that about me, but I feel like maybe I need to say it every time because I really deeply believe that everybody who's watching, everybody who's in this community, we're trying to do the best that we can with the tools that we've got. And once we can acknowledge that we all can learn, we can all grow. It's okay. We all have bias. We all have unconscious thoughts that kind of manifest in ways that impact our relationships. Imagine what would be possible if we all kind of assumed that was an intention that we had. And so thank you both for reminding me of that, that connection to both community and this relentless hope that we have to have and relentless kind of compassion that I think is required of us right now. If we want to stay aligned, if we want to stay sane, if we want to stay hopeful, right? Those are just my kind of beliefs that I wanted to lift up.
I love that you're sharing that because I think most people who unfriended you when you came out, they were definitely scared, right? And fear has us doing different crazy things when it grips us. And a lot of the time I've seen, before my friends, I've had friends who've come out, but they've known all their lives, yet they were really homophobic before they came out, or they had some other kind of belief and some self-hatred inside them. And so being who you are, living as what you are, just without apologies and without asking for permission from anyone, can feel threatening to someone who's in a lot of pain and someone who is doing a lot of self-denial and negative self-talk and just operating from a space that they know is not their true self and not in alignment with them. So I'm like you, sending so much love, massive love to anybody who's in a space of conflict or anybody I've had conflict with. Trying to remember that, in the middle of a heated conversation can be the hardest thing, but we are all truly trying to do the best we can with what we have. And I I love that you're sharing that as we close out our, I don't know what we call this, like love fest here.
I know. I think it's got to be the spark seed. It doesn't quite capture the power. So we got to think of a really good name that power. Because yeah, it is powerful. This is like, it's so inspiring. And I think before I'll give each of you a final word, what I want to invite anybody who's watching or who watches the replay to really think about is, what's a layer that you're ready to shed, given all of what you've experienced recently, what are you ready to break out of? And it might be something very small. Like Tepsii said, it might be like, I'm ready to start. I love art. I love dancing. I'm going to stop like listening to this limited belief that I have that I don't have time, or I'm going to start connecting with more people, or I'm going to go on a date, or I'm going to do, this one thing. What is it that you're ready to shed in service of your breaking free and breaking open and being the brave and courageous leader that you can be? I'd love for you to comment or journal or take some time to tell someone that you care about, like, hey, I'm working on this. Can you help me? Can you, just someone you really trust and respect, like just to say, hey, do you have a minute to talk? I'm working on something and I'd love your support. I mean, gosh, it's amazing what happens when you take that little baby leap of faith. And so that's my invitation for anybody who's watching and engaging with us today. And so now I'll give each of you a chance to share a final word, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Although I feel like we could talk all day. I think we are going to all have to get back.
We could.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to go. My final thought is pretty universal within our triangle right now, and that is just believing in yourself. That is the hardest thing to do, in my opinion, is believing in ourselves. From the time that we're children, we are often trying to copycat someone, be it someone that we see on TV, athlete, performing artist, whoever, to relatives in our family or kids in our neighborhood or whatever. We often are trying to be like someone else. I remember the first time I heard this slogan, be like Mike, I was like, oh, stop it. No, be like yourself. Be yourself. Be yourself. And so I just want to encourage anyone who is watching to really fall in love with who you are, because who you are is just that. It's who you are. And if we are spending so much time trying to be like other people, we are not only robbing ourselves of a wonderful inner relationship, we're robbing the world of what we can bring to it. So please believe in who you are, despite anything you may have heard, seen, taste, felt. Believe in who you are and have the courage to just stand in that, because that is when you are going to outshine everybody. I love the onyx stone. The onyx stone, when you hold it, it looks just like a dark, really deep black or deep brown stone. Doesn't look very, spectacular, does it? But when you when you hold it up to light, hold that thing up to light, Rachel. When you hold it up to light, all these colors you can see inside that darkness. And that onyx stone has like a rainbow of colors in it. Oh my goodness, we are not fading to black. We are coming out. Wait a minute. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Gotta let it show. I just want to go ahead, get it, girl. Encourage whoever is watching. Believe in yourself. Please. You are the only you that you got. Believe in that you.
Yes.
Believe in that you. And I know you're going to FedEx that onyx stone necklace.
I can't believe those are the earrings that I chose to put on today. Like, of course, this is such serendipitous beauty. I mean, what are the odds of that? I looked at them in my head. I was like, yeah, those are the ones. I haven't worn these in years. Anyway.
Onyx. Get it, girl.
Love you. Wow. Well, it's what you said, Cosette, is so, it resonates so much. And we didn't introduce ourselves. You didn't mention what you do. I don't actually know, now that I think
oh my
about
gosh,
it.
we sure did. You know what? That's because we family. We family. That's why we didn't introduce ourselves. We family.
I'll put the bios below. I'm sorry, that's totally my bad. I did assume that people knew, but that's so silly. I'll put the bios below.
Yeah, put the bios below. I assume she helps people create transformational, huge changes in their lives, because
I do.
just a few less than an hour with Cosette, and you cannot help but feel ready to go do something. And it's actually serendipitous that you said, go, what are you ready to shed in terms of layers, and to get closer to your true self, and go out and get support if that's what you need right now to really, get aligned with that true self. And earlier today, probably about 5 hours ago, I messaged my cousin and I told her about a transformation I want to make in myself. And I said, I'm just messaging you to tell you what I'm up to. I'm doing this. I'm just messaging you for accountability and support. Here's my progress so far. Love you very much. And I just sent the message, and she responded maybe an hour later, like, go you, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited. Whatever I can do to support this journey, I'm here with you. Love you too. And, that was it. But, it's crazy that is the invitation that you're making. And I've been thinking about doing this, saying this to her for like months and feeling embarrassed or whatever to say it. And today I got the inspiration to actually, get out there and make that declaration with her for support and empowerment and just like sisterhood. And it felt really good. So there are no mistakes. We're all here for a reason and on purpose. I think my last parting words for people is that there is an entire world waiting to tell you what you are not, or what you are, or how good or how not good, or, whether or not your message is the right message or the wrong message. There's so many people who are waiting to do that. And you actually don't need to do it at all for yourself. We are usually our own worst critics, spend a lot of time and energy beating ourselves up, getting down on ourselves for little tiny mistakes sometimes. Maybe you took the wrong route and got stuck in traffic. Now you're beating yourself up. Or, maybe you forgot to put the load of laundry in the dryer before you left, and now you're beating yourself up. It's these little things that we spend time on. And it only takes a few seconds to start being cognizant of what's going on in here, to start hearing and recognizing the thoughts that we're having, and how those thoughts turn into beliefs, and how those beliefs turn into patterns and habits that often can take a lifetime to break because of the way we're speaking to ourselves. So my invitation to people is to be gentle, to be kind to yourself, to allow yourself to just be, to, just roll it off your shoulders when things go quote unquote wrong, and it kind of embrace those wrongs as a detour. My dad, whenever I say dad, like we're driving and I say, Dad, did you take the wrong turn? He goes, no, I just went the other way.
I love it. I love it.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
Because it's all a lesson, That's right. Be gentle, believe, be gentle, and keep moving, And what a powerful gift this has been to have this conversation and to hear more of your stories. I know there's so many more layers, and so many more layers that we're all going to shed. So as we grow, the stories expand and our impact continues to expand too. So what a powerful thing. Thank you both so much for taking the time, for being in the Spark family, for embodying courageous leadership and shining your light. And with that, I'll just invite everybody to keep leading with their spark, keep shining, keep changing the world, one conversation, one step at a time, because that's how it happens.
Absolutely. And Rachel, I cannot leave without shouting out to my girl, Michelle. I saw her make a comment. What's up, Michelle? You know you're a leader too. You better get up in the Spark family. You better come up in here. We got our sister from South Africa. You just a few miles away from me, girl. You better get up in this Spark family. I see you. I'm calling you out right now because you fierce. You fierce. Get up in here. Get up in here. I got a chair for you. I got a chair for you. Get on over here, girl. See you next time. You better get on over here, Michelle.
I love it. Yeah, she just joined right before this. So welcome, Michelle, officially to the Spark family. It's a pleasure to have you. And yeah, y'all, those who are watching the replay, comment and make requests for what you want the Spark seat to be about next week. This is how it rolls. You know, this is how we do this. The week before, someone has a request, and then we choose the right speaker to go in the seat. So this time it happened to be 2. But who knows what it'll be next week. What I know for sure is it'll be on Thursday around sometime between 11 and 1 Central. And we'll make it work depending on who the speaker is. So thank you all so much. And
thank you. Thanks for having
you, Rachel.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. All right, y'all. Bye. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye.